It's yet another exciting time on Enterprise Chat at MSME Africa. I'm so excited to be here with you once again. You're welcome. I am your host, Ara Nimi. We're talking about something quite hot and something recent, as you know, the economic issues in Nigeria are concerned. You know, the Nigerian economy is really grappling with key issues, economic, macro, microeconomic issues amidst high rates of inflation, fuel subsidy removal, and unification of the exchange rate. As a matter of fact, Nigeria's economic potential is constrained by many structural issues, including inadequate infrastructure, tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade, obstacles in investment, lack of confidence in currency valuation, and limited foreign exchange capacity. But in all of these, we're looking at how can startups and MSMEs deal with rising costs and making current economic instability. You would agree with me that in the past few weeks or months, it's been, a situation of a choke in this country. You all know how much petrol costs right now, cost of food, inflation rising. Anyway, to join me on this conversation today as we delve into what this will mean for startups and businesses in Nigeria is Edward Esene. He's a co-founder of the Plus Incubation Hub. Edward Esene is also called Head World.
Yeah.
He's a business startup coach and innovation consultant. Good to have you on the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aramide. Good
Um,
to have you
so
too.
head world, is it that you have a dream to head the world someday?
Absolutely not. My dream is just to, do the best in my corner and hope every other person do the best in their corner. There is no one person that can save the world,
Mm.
Aramide. We all cannot save the world. There's no one governor, no one president, no one leader that can save the world, except according to my books, Jesus. But outside of the books of religion, we all must do our part to light up the world. So
Exactly.
you do your part, I do my part, then the world will become a better place. Thank
Exactly.
you.
I think I would accept what you said. I think somebody once said that the world has no remote. You must stand up to change it. So
Abs-
everybody can just
Absolutely.
do their part. So you say you
Absolutely.
like to do what you do in your corner. Talk to me about what you
Yeah.
do in your own corner.
So
Because
what
I've
I do
seen,
it
yeah, I read
what
your profile. It's a lot. I can't even start reading it. You one
no,
brand.
no, the summary of my profile is actually three things, but two major. So I have interest in three things, but two major. Number one is to help businesses get started, you know, move from idea to enterprise. We've been doing that now for 15 years, and we've done that successfully, both within
Right.
country and outside of the country. Number two is strategy,
Mm.
basically helping them become competitive. So the first part is incubation, moving the idea to enterprise. Then the second thing, once they are now an enterprise, a growing concern, what are the strategic alignments, strategic input to make them competitive, to make them sustainable, to make them scale, to make them grow? Those are the two things I do. Every other thing is in between. If we break that down, for some it means giving them access to markets. For some it means giving them access to funding. For some, it's giving them access to mentors, access to market opportunities, and even working with policymakers to remove frictions and
All right.
barriers for them. Yeah.
All right. Okay. There's a part of your of your profile that got me, wondering. You're apart from that, you're a multiple awards recipient and a grant
Yeah,
expert. You are
absolutely.
a former Chelsea FC fan. Former-
That's deliberate. Last season, those Chelsea guys, it was what would they call it, a disaster,
Oh
right?
wow! So
So
don't
yeah.
tell me you came here to drag Chelsea fans right
No,
now.
no, 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 no. I may
The,
be for what I
the
want to
actual
do.
Asuns, the
So
roasted
so
ones.
I've been a Chelsea fan for about 10 years, right? But 2021, 2022, I started having, I just want to watch football now going forward because of the amount of investment of time,
All right.
investment of emotion. I wanted to watch football from a neutral standpoint. I just want to enjoy the game, but I don't want to be too vested as I want. Football and being a fan can be very addictive, can take a lot of your time, and emotions. You have to, for you to enjoy the best of football, you must invest emotion. Meaning, you can have a bad weekend depending on the score line
Yes.
of your team. You can have a very beautiful weekend, and your home will be at peace because of a football match in London. Can you imagine? So why will I have somebody move my emotions and my feelings over a 90 minutes game like that? So I decided to take a bit of more control for myself, right?
Well, I can understand if you're also trying not to be Maguire at any point. That can be disastrous. So
They are dragging man, you people. I know
I
the
didn't say anything. I trust me. I didn't say anyway. So let's get into the conversation right now.
absolutely.
You've seen, the economic situation, the what is the current realities in Nigeria right now.
Yeah.
What exactly are the main costs? The drivers currently putting pressure on startups and MSMEs. Speaking of labor, materials, overhead costs, what are they?
It's a lot. I think this is a tough time to be in business.
Hmm.
They said no business survive too bad business model or too bad recession. Recession itself is bad, you know. So no business survive too bad business model or two recessions, basically. So what is happening in Nigeria is the fact that the rate of change happening outside, which is macro fundamentals, is happening too fast, too quick, and is affecting the rate of change happening internally. So a lot of us business owners, small business owners and startups, we are struggling to cope. We're struggling to catch up, until the market fundamental stabilizes, until some big brands that have cash reserve, they can edge the FX, they can absorb shock quite resiliently. Until all of those stabilizes, it's going to be very tough. However long or short, none of us knows, because for some people, the dollar to naira can climb up to 1,000 naira, which is not a good scenario, right? Um, for some other person, fuel or PMS or petrol may hit 700 naira or 600 naira. So will it come back? Will it stabilize? We're just saying that we are going up the hill and it's becoming so tough for a lot of persons. Transportation cost has gone up, pricing of some basic commodity has gone up, salary has not gone up. We want to increase salary. We're
Yes.
planning to do that. We've not done that, but we've actually relaxed resumptions in our office, so you don't need to come as often as you used to come
All right.
again. Because I asked some persons, how much do you take to get to the office? And it's now 2,000, 3,000. Really? I have to take public transport. So like, no, this is not sustainable. This is not good enough. The intention is to increase salary, but our revenue is not allowing us to do that. So what is within our control? Cut down first on the amount of time people spend coming to offices. So that's within our control. As soon as the next 30 to 60 days, once we implement a few ideas and our revenue picks up, we are also adjusting that we can layer salary incentive and say, okay, to cushion, they call it palliative,
Yes.
everybody have a little top up, to augment our current
Yes.
reality,
Yes.
but it is
Let me
serious and it is biting everybody, both the big, the small, everybody,
let
sincerely,
me
around me.
jump. Let me jump on what you just said now, because I've seen earnings reports of listed companies on the Nigerian exchange. They are reporting a loss in their first half
Loss,
of
loss.
2023. You know,
Nigerian brewery, 70 billion.
exactly. You see the likes of you have
Unilever,
Unilever,
loss.
Guinness, Dangote Sugar,
Loss,
and some
loss.
telco giants, MTN and
Aramide, Aramide, those are not material losses. So all these businesses still have a good cash balance. So make no mistake about it. They are just FX losses. They are not cash flow losses. They are not market share losses. They are not potent revenue losses, as the case may be. They are FX losses. So let me explain what that means. So let's say I do a project for any of the big guys. We're currently doing a Google project and they pay in dollars, right? If
Mhm.
I have done the project this year. And when we started the project, I was paid X amount of dollars and I exchanged it to pay my suppliers in Naira. I exchanged it at 710. Today, my malam said dollars is 860. So I've gotten a material gain over the dollars. Because when I started the project, it was 710. And it is the same, let's say, $50,000. So the value of $50,000 3 months ago and the value of $50,000 now has moved significantly.
Yes,
You know,
yes, but you know, some of the
if so, let me land that thought too. If the dollar now becomes 500 tomorrow, I will call it a material loss to me. But the truth is that I didn't really lose anyone because I earned the money in dollars. I didn't earn it in naira.
no, but you know some of these companies, well, I can understand your point, but some of them are, talking about the high cost of things in Nigeria,
No,
materials, raw materials.
importing. If they are importing
Exactly.
their
Even the
inputs,
ones that are
yes,
local, they are talking about, look, you just talked about petrol, do you want to run
yes.
a generator, diesel and what have you. And that's
Mm.
also, affecting them generally.
Yes.
But
Let me give another example to that material loss against FX. So typically, most of these big brands, right, the Dangotes, the MTNs, any of the importing guys, they want to import from anything that is within the list of the government to bring in. They open it from M. They go and take that dollar from CBN at official rate, 400 naira. Do you understand? It means that if they have 20 million, they'll buy 20 million naira at $400 from CBN. Now, they've not lost 20 million naira. It's just that with their 20 million naira now, that subsidized FX from CBN is no longer available. So they are now buying lower quantity of dollar for the same 20, so it's the same 20 million, but the price of FX has moved, and the cost, the differentials, they have to factor it into their cost of production. So in their business operation, as it were, they still have their 20 million they normally use to procure anything or import. But now that 20 million cannot get them as much FX. So again, like they say, it's a material loss, and they need to factor that additional cost of doing business into their passing cost to customers.
well, that's basically the effect of the unification or the harmonization of the exchange rate.
The exchange rate,
Let's not
yes.
let's look at MSMEs now. You've spoken about
Our people, that's my area.
yes, you spoke about on your own end you had to
Yeah,
cut down cost of transportation.
yeah.
What
If
other
I have if
costs?
I have my way very soon, I'll do a staff bus. But
Oh,
where
amazing!
where where are, where are
I
they
know
living? How many times can the bus go around to pick people? We don't have a big
I know that
operation to say everybody
Lagos
meets
State
here.
government, the Lagos
Yeah,
State government just announced that they will be slashing
slash.
the price of,
Yeah,
you know,
reality by 50%, public
exactly
transport by
50%.
25%.
And I think Ondo State had put some measures in place prior to
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
So I want
true.
to also you add to what you just said. Which costs do you think are most feasible for startups and MSMEs to
So,
reduce?
like I said, this thing is a funny dynamic that is playing. There are some things that are not within your control. Macroeconomic fundamentals are not within our control. We can't break your head over a spill milk, right? What do you do with inflation at 22.7? What do you do with interest rate at what? What do you do with? It's not your. There's nothing within your internal capacity or operation that can impact or influences that. I'd rather let's come back to the microeconomic fundamentals, my revenue, my costs, my customer acquisition, my staff, my retention strategy, my palliatives, all of those are within my product development strategy, my differentiation. Those are what is within my control. So what did I do? Like I told you, we slacked resumption. No, everybody does not have to come to the office every day. So you don't have to even, we used to do 4 times, some people 5, but now one or two, everybody. I've not been in the office this week. Today is Tuesday. I've been in several meetings. Work is going on, reports is going on. Typically, I'll be running everywhere, but I can't do that because my car is 41,500 to fill my tank. I can't do that again. So I will use almost 160,000 now to drive. And that's 1 week, 160K on PMS. No, it's not sustainable, right? And every other cost has gone up in almost direct proportion, right? So I've significantly on my workability,
Okay.
so we can do that. You can increase salary if you must. You can introduce new product if you must. You can adjust your prices slightly if you can. Okay, you can hire talent globally or remotely. There are several other things that we can look internal. Some people can do staff boss, some people can increase salaries, some people can hire from a cheaper market, hire from a cheaper region, the way they used to do to us when we
Speaking,
come from
speaking,
Nigeria or India.
speaking of staff boss, I
Yeah.
saw a funny meme that said CEO self don't they follow staff boss. So
Ah,
I
it,
do not even
it
think
makes sense.
increasing salary might be easy to do
I'm
something
telling
right now. If
you,
CEO they follow
I'm
staff
telling
boss,
you, I
it's
did a
not it's not
meeting. I did a meeting with no, let me don't mention it. I do because this recording. Let me don't mention it. I did a meeting somewhere with some very high people. And you can see everybody parked their bus, their cars to follow one. But it's just common sense now. We must also change our lifestyle. What
yes.
and we must also, like today, what I posted online today majorly was around also being deliberate in investing. There's so much
Mm,
hardship now, and if we are not careful, my 100,000 naira or my 1 million naira will go towards consumption.
mm,
But rather, I can also look at it and split it just like a bit more self-awareness and a bit of discipline and insist that in these tough times, right, I will not consume as much as I could or I can consume, right? And I can invest a portion of it because it is in this tough time that you also need to sow your seeds and take position. People are doing distress sales, people are jack buying, they're selling their cars, selling their houses, selling their wares. You can take advantage if you have cash, if you have liquidity. So everything should
well,
not just be around survival consumption. It should also be about
well,
strategic investments also.
yes, you've spoken about you can increase salary if you
If
can.
you can,
You
yeah.
can make available palliatives. I know a
Yeah.
very big
Bonuses, yeah.
a top media organization in Nigeria that's actually doing that right now, palliatives
Hmm.
for the workers, then the
Hmm.
staff thing. But that's to the benefit of the workers. Look at the
Hmm.
company that is also not possibly making enough money. Do you
Yeah.
think downsizing staff is a measure that businesses
For some people, it's a painful decision. In my 12 years of running business now, I think I've over downsized just twice. It's a painful thing. And the last one being very recently, I think late last year or early this year. It's downsizing is not the option, sincerely. From what I've heard from my bosses and mentors, we should not be quick to lay off staff because I'm feeling the heat as the owner, manager, the founder, president, CEO, visionary of my own incorporated, right? But your staff too, that's 100K salary, that 200K. Some of them are married. Their children's school fees is dependent on it. Their house rent is dependent on it, right? Their monthly consumptions is dependent on the 100K salary, right? So if you pull that plug, what do you want them to do? I wish we can sack people better. There's what they call exit management in HR, right? I give you an advance notice that, see, we are both struggling. You are struggling on the job. I'm struggling in my cash flow as a business owner. I can't sustain. I'm not feeling your input of value, but I will release you in the next 3 months. So start planning, right? And as I release you in the next 3 months, I'll give you a 3 months or a 6 months payment to help you stabilize in that transition period. And we'll also open a counseling and advisory session with you to help you through your transition. So look at the exit management. I will notify you 3 months ahead. I'll give you a reserve, a cash buffer. You don't need to work with me. So if I leave you July, I'll give you a 3 months of your gross pay. Because like me sending you into the wilderness, I'm just giving you some shock absorber. Then I'll still open my line to you to say, What do you want to do? Do you want to get another job? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to, how can I help you settle down in another window? So
All
that
right.
that exit. But it's
Okay.
sounding nice, but for most of us, it's so difficult to do. So very, very
Mm,
difficult. The
I can.
intention is there, the heart is there,
But
but they
well,
say, but the
I get your
capacity,
point.
the willingness is tough.
I get your points on that now. Let's also talk about the role of the government here now, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
just the businesses we should focus on. Because the
Mm,
government obviously has to create an enabling environment for businesses. Are there subsidies, loans? Yes, I know the president has spoken a lot about palliatives. As a matter of fact, in his speech yesterday, he spoke about, energizing the MSME and the informal sector with as
mm-hmm.
much as 125 billion naira. He's also spoken about the manufacturing enterprises that they're going to have a 75 billion naira access to 75 billion naira between July 2023 and March 2024, because he's aiming
Mm.
to strengthen the manufacturing sector. But let's talk about the loans, grants. What are these opportunities that are available to help startups and MSMEs deal with this rising cost, and how difficult are they to obtain?
I'll speak to that after training, just saying something off my head. I'll answer that, Aramide, with your kind permission. Let me speak to a bit of what you said that the president mentioned yesterday during his speech. See, giving speeches, right, is nice. Having plans and intentions and program is beautiful, and it will not be the first to do such. There's a lot of laudable initiative there. I understand the timeliness of that speech, the reason why we should all not be too agitated and labor should not go on strike tomorrow. I understand trying to speak to our hearts, rather than our head to say, understand it's a tough time for everybody and that this too shall pass. But this is what I'm going to finally on that. Nigeria's problem is not lack of programs or initiative. Nigeria's federal government problem in this country is majorly two. We don't have a revenue problem around there. Nigeria, we have a lot of revenue. The three challenge we have is leakages in government, wastages and leakages, number one.
I think
That's the number two is insincerity.
I think the
Insincerity.
World Bank actually noted that in one of its
Mm.
presentations.
There are a lot of revenue collecting bodies in Nigeria that run what we call opaque operations. So I work with some big federal government ministries and agencies, but sometimes we do job for them in country, sometimes outside of the country. And I know their numbers. I can't mention their name, I can't mention their numbers. But even the federal government of Nigeria does not know how much some of these of the parastatals or ministries or agencies make. They only know what they choose to remit. You don't understand what that means. So a ministry can do run a activity, and there are several of them that collect 2% of this, 5% of that, 1% of this, tax of this, levies of this, GDs of this, OMN license of that, different things. Huge money. Oh. The government is not aware. It's not going into federation account. It's not going to. It's just going into their own ministry agencies account. And at the end of the day, that money is 31 trillion. They tell the government is X or X minus Y.
Mm.
That's absolute nonsense, So
So
there's a lot of
what
leakages.
solution? What do you think the country needs?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a microeconomist, though, but I listened to Mr. Edun today, Wale Edun, and he was talking about doing his ministerial screening. He was talking about how they were able to block some of those things leveraging technology. He comes highly recommended. His reputation preceded his name, and they gave him a lot of accolades. Wale Edun. He might even head the Ministry of Finance. Okonjo-Iweala, in a book, then having been a two-time minister with Jonathan, with Obasanjo first, then with Jonathan, said that he mentioned a couple of those ministries in a book that said they run opaque operation. I heard that word from her for the first time, opaque operation. They frustrate audits, they frustrate accountability. That's on one part. Then this other part is cost of governance. The people bringing the money out. There was a time, Jam, for the first time in how many years, they brought in one director of Jam that brought in billions of naira.
Yeah, I think
That
about
was when
50
it
billion in
dawned on
6
us that
months.
say Jam, no
That was
Jam,
a
Lokutoyi.
Ishak Oloyede, I think.
Yeah, Ishak. I'm like, what? Really? What has other people been doing with the jam money?
Mm.
Did you know how much jam remitted this last one that they had before they had this Masoma case? This how much they remitted or contributed to the Federation
Yeah.
Post. There are several other people like that just collecting money and zipping their mouths.
That's why the government is saying they are not going to be funding some of these bodies. They are not funding the
Exactly. No,
University of Nigeria,
typically, yes,
WAEC,
any
NECO.
government, yes, any government that have a revenue function cannot is not the budget for funding. No, you don't do that. Like ITF take 1 or 2% from everybody's annual net profits. You can't fund ITF. Now ITF should be returning money back. Customs, NAFDAC, NMPC. There are several of them. Don't even start mentioning anymore. We to start to fight, So that's one. That leakage is too massive. It's like people don't put pipe draining from this country, and some of us are not even aware because then everybody was focusing on oil and the money was coming from oil. So any other places they were taking from, nobody cared. The second thing is the cost of governance. You cannot be doing reforms and be driving all this initiative, and we've not heard from anybody. Pay slash, no, all your aides, all your commissioners, all your advisors, the costs. What are we doing with the National Assembly, with Senator and Rep? What you now? 360, 109 kilo day. Let's have one. Let's have one.
As a matter of fact, Singapore and Nigeria have the highest cost of governance. But of course, you can't even compare the economy of Nigeria with Singapore.
What I'm even saying that let the people in power. You're asking me to move from fuel from 185 to 568. But you are not buying that same fuel. You have everything provided for you. What measure, this austerity measure, should not just come from the measure I think of. The president should have said yesterday that even him himself and all the ministry, they are slashing so. Just show that we are all contributing to the, because we are paying more, we are all paying to this. That 1 trillion naira that they said they'll save now is part of my own money. Because what the government should have used to augment it for me to buy fuel at 185, I've used that money to buy at 5 something. We're all paying more. But it's not fair to have the populace, the masses, to pay more, and you, the leaders, we, the leader, become also a leader, right? Are not commensurate. We're not meeting them somewhere halfway. So that's the big issue with Nigeria: insincere, inconsiderate leader, and the amount of leakages that we have. Those are the two big issues. So let me speak to the grand stuff. As more of these austerity measures take places, there will be the humanitarian side to it. And you guys are doing absolutely well. MSME Africa. Oga Sheye is my boss and my good friend. And I listen to him. I commend the great job that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
There's no day you don't send out information about funding, about grants. That's just the right community to be. The starting place for getting grants is community. You need to get that information. The second thing is eligibility. Based on that grant, and I've been working on grant for the past 7 or 10 years. I'm on 2 grants currently this year. There's, apart from 2020 COVID and another year, we practically get grants once every 2 years or 2 grants every 1 year. I write them myself. At one point, I even review grants. I mark grant application for several projects. So what I'm saying is that as these measures, as things become very tight, foundations, development partners, NGOs, we keep reaching out to the what they call the disadvantaged sectors, maybe women, maybe girls, maybe youth, to do programs and projects that can benefit. Maybe PWD, GIZ have something for returning migrant from Europe, USAID, UNICEF, USAID, several of them. MasterCard Foundation is doing something. They just sent out Agro Arc today. Myself and Ogashe were with them on the Transforming Nigerian Youth project. Some are funded, some are just capacity building, some is advisory, some is free, but you take everything. There are some projects that you will get up to $10,000. So it choke. If you put your ear to the ground, there are some angels flying around to still help people when times are hard, and grants is one of those opportunities for you and I.
So you've spoken about grants and funding, subsidies, loans, and what have you for businesses. I think to
Mm-hmm.
wrap up really, because well, if we say cut down the cost of, cut down your consumption, cut down your expenses, I think
Mm.
there's a limit.
So we can come
Go,
down.
go for a cheaper product. Go for, I think even the cheaper products are no longer cheap, if you
Yeah,
understand what I
they are
mean.
not. They are not. They've
That
moved prices.
exactly. So
In
so
terms of that, what is happening is that product may not move price, they may just shrinkflate. So that shrinkflation is also, I wanted to buy my kids biscuits, and this particular biscuit we normally buy at 15 naira. I saw it at 100 and I said, no, I'm not going to buy. Because why you give them one? Either they eat a little or waste it. The 15 naira one, just they make them plenty in terms of quantity, right? So if I want to buy a 500 naira worth, I get more of that. So then later, after some weeks, I saw the same biscuits for 15 naira. It's the same size, but when I don't want to mention the brand. When I open it, I don't come on 1 unit inside. So it
yeah,
has it
so
has been shrunk. They call that
uh,
shrinkflation. So if you're not moving price, you just shrink your product a little bit so that you still meet consumers or customer at that price point. But there's just adjustment necessary. A bottle of Coke
because
has
I think
has moved too. I don't take
I
Coke,
think
but I heard.
I can I think I've had experiences of a scenario you just painted. Now there's this particular yogurt making company that actually slimmed the bottle of their drink. Now
Mhm,
it is slimmer.
mhm.
So
So they
well,
don't
that
want to move. They don't want to move the price point. They just
yes, you
rank a
just
bit.
have to, and it's really hard. You still have to maintain the same quality. So
Yeah.
in the long term, what are strategies that startups, MSMEs should consider to become resilient in, this whole economic crisis? How can they become more resilient to economic instability?
I think in the long term, and because you mentioned long term, the principal thing is vision. Your vision can't. I was telling some people, buy this particular stock and hold it for 10 years. I'm gonna say, 10 years, long. I said, they play. Buhari did 8 years on all of us. We are still here.
Hmm.
I was 40 years old this year now, February this year. When Buhari entered, I was 32. He's in around now, I'm 40 years old. He has done 8 years on me. So that 10 years that you're looking at is just a matter of time. Even if you're not that, you can't see that far. Okay, how about 5 years? So what keeps you from short-term instability is long-term perspective, because this cannot run for 5 years. So if I hold on to a long-term vision, then whatever is affecting me in 3 months or 6 months, it will be temporary. Number two is tactics. Tactics. When strategy and operations is failing, then you revert back to tactics. Tactics is how you respond to things. Flexibility is tact and flexibility. Back, 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 back. They call it German. So you see a lot of businesses that are big today. They did a lot of German in their last 30, 40, 50 years. But they went through several cycles. But today we are celebrating them. It's okay to close your shop and go and partner with somebody else. You are not dead. Your business has not gone under. It's tact, it's flexibility. Look at your business model, reinvent here, adjust here. The times have moved, the times have changed. There's no point talking to Renchi. So vision is key, tact is key. Then lastly, for me, money. We must look for money. Where do you get money as a business? Any money when you get money, go die. There's a
Hmm.
customer side of you getting money to stay afloat. Yeah. I paid salaries today, so my account in the office has gone down. I was supposed to have paid before, but I couldn't pay for July. I had to pay 1st of August. But I'm happy that I was able to pay for July today. So you need money. Money is the bloodline of organization, businesses. There's money from customers. If they said MTN has made 2 trillion naira last year in revenue, their 2022 figure, the highest ever in Nigeria, 2 trillion. As much as I know, it's a declared revenue, right? All of that money came from customers. It didn't come from the investors or the or from the MD of the company. So we must learn how to acquire customers and acquire customers aggressively. Then two, there's money from the customer side one. Then two, there's money from funding. So a business, another organization, a grant funder, a development partner can give you $100,000 to implement it. But that's a lot of money for anybody in
Sorry,
Nigeria.
I want us to wrap up very quickly, but
Yes,
because you've spoken about funding and you are like an
yes,
expert here, you have also received quite a number of fundings and what have you.
absolutely.
Please, if you can quickly just answer this one, like briefly, talk about how can a
Okay.
business, how can, businesses position themselves for funding opportunities?
So that funding, like I said around before, the starting place is community. You need to get the information that this funding is available anywhere. Number two is eligibility. Most funding comes with terms and condition eligibility, right? You must have this, you must have CAC, you must be in this region, you must be in this segment, you must, all those. If you are not eligible, you are not eligible, you cannot get it. Then the last one, which is very important, is for you to put a convincing concept note to application, right? Either a proposal, a pitch deck, or just a pure concept. No, right? They'll ask you questions, you put something that makes sense, and somebody reviews that and says, I like what this lady is doing. I think we should support her with this fund. Oh, she's impacting rural girls in Ekiti State with diapers or pampers, and she's solving period poverty. Let's give her money to do more,
One
basically.
sustainable development goal.
Exactly, So basically, that thing works. So, but most people don't know how to do number three, which is expressing themselves, answering those technical questions. That's the challenge.
Okay, thank you so much for all your contributions to the conversation today. It's been an amazing time talking to you, even though when we were about to start, you said you didn't want to delve in macroeconomic
Uh,
issues, and I guess you were being humble, but
no, I
now
don't like to talk about that.
you
I
shared
have
with
an
us.
idea, but I listen to the experts in that area.
You've not
Mm.
only shared, key and valuable insights, you have also given us some, I don't know if somebody else got some things that you. So before I let you go, I just want to get your
Yes,
final
ma'am.
thoughts, your final word to businesses, startups, organizations out there.
So my final word would be to keep building regardless, to stay the course regardless, to find new opportunities regardless.
Hmm.
Once one side is closing up in business, it's like an energy. You cannot add to it, you cannot take from it. Some other person started with a mowing machine. Today they are doing aircraft. Some other person started with a plastic company. Today they are doing construction. So the goal of a business person, if you're an entrepreneur, a startup, is to solve problem, is to add value. As long as human being exists, there will be problems. And we are here to meet those challenges. That is why. So I don't want to complain that, oh, this line of business is not working. Nigeria economy is not favoring me. What are the issues? If power is the issue, let's address it. If flooding is the issue, let's address it. Is poverty, is sickness? As long as there are issues, we're in business. We can never be out of business. Thank you so much, Aramide. Stay
Thank
the
you.
course. Build
Thank
regardless.
I was going to, that regardless that you kept on
Regardless.
saying, I think is very important because whatever is happening,
Yes.
regardless, you still have to,
Regardless.
regardless, you have to build,
Yeah.
regardless, you have to
Yeah.
invest, regardless, you have to,
Yeah.
keep going. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for all that you've spoken
Keep
about.
adjusting, keep improving, keep iterating,
Regardless.
listen, build, listen, build. There will be opportunities and more opportunities as we go ahead.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time here on Enterprise Chat. And we've been speaking with Edward Esene, the co-founder Plus Incubation Hub. And, we've been talking about how businesses, startups, MSMEs can navigate the current trials and challenges in the Nigerian economic situation right now. Thank you so much. This is where we come to the end of the conversation. Been an amazing time. Like I said earlier, do not forget, you can always go back and refer to these conversations. Do not miss the next episode. Well, don't forget you can connect with us on our social media platform on Instagram, Facebook, and at YouTube at MSME Africa. Till the next episode, I remain Aranimi. It's goodbye for now.